What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to JellyGoonTV. Welcome back to all you beautiful people on YouTube. Today we have another video, and I'm actually excited for this one. This one is 10 Bizarre Wars History Completely Forgot. But before we get into that, I want to promote my music channel. As always, it's AnxiousRapTv. And of course, I have 2 songs out, beautiful and fake rappers. Go over and check them out if you want some real rap or you just want to see what it is. But thank you anyway for the support for the guys and girls who go over and check it out. Today we're going to react to 10 Bizarre Wars, of course, and we're going to see what really happened in the world, right? We're going to see which wars we actually forgot. So without further ado, let's get into this crazy shit, because I want to see it, man. So yeah, without further ado, let's go.
10 Bizarre Wars History Completely Forgot. 10. Canada versus Croatia.
Wait, what?
Remember that time that Canada defeated the Croatian army?
No.
Despite being outnumbered 3-1?
No.
No? That's probably because the Canadian government banned all reports of the incident.
Why?
After Yugoslavia collapsed in 1991, a brutal ethnic war broke out between the new Croatian and Serbian governments. Stories that the Croatians were massacring civilians forced the UN to intervene, sending 900 Canadian troops into the region to act
just the Canadians?
Force. Presumably, never having watched an ice hockey fight, the Croatians thought the Canadians would be a pushover and attacked them with 2,500 soldiers. The Canadian military not only managed to hold off the enormously larger force, but didn't suffer a single casualty doing so. The Croatians lost 27 men and suffered 87 casualties before retreating. You'd think the Canadian government would be proud of such a victory, but Prime Minister Jean Chrétien actually banned Canada's press from reporting the incident for 9 years. Supposedly, this was to avoid ruining his administration's peace-loving image or upsetting Canada's Croatian population, although we think it might just be that Canada was too polite to boast about it. 9.
Let me pause here, man. Let me pause here. So you tell me that Canada actually went to war by its own? I thought Canadian people didn't believe in war. I actually thought they were peaceful people. They seem like that. What's going on with the world today where countries so peaceful is going into war with a country that almost won the fucking World Cup? Man, the world is crazy, man. But anyway, Britain versus Zanzibar. Let's go. What is Zanzibar? Let's go. Britain always been to war. Britain always went to war.
Sort of thing you can fit into a lunch break.
No matter what.
When it comes to the Anglo-Zanzibar War, you could fight the whole thing and still have time to swing by the new quinoa place.
What?
The shortest war in history, this 1896 conflict lasted only 38 minutes. After the death of the Sultan of Zanzibar on August 25th, the new Sultan, Khalid bin Bargash, rose to the throne. The British, who controlled the colony, had a different successor in mind though, and offered Khalid until 9 AM on August the 27th to resign. They even parked 5 warships in the bay.
You don't mess with Britain.
To show they were
definitely
serious.
Not back then.
Khalid refused, and after the deadline passed, the British ships bombarded his palace. The shelling only lasted 38 minutes, but over 500 Zanzibaris were killed or wounded. The palace surrendered at 9:38, and the British marched in to find that Khalid had already fled to German East Africa. A pro-British sultan was installed, and Zanzibar became even more of a puppet state than before. 8. Zandt versus...
Let me pause it. Imagine you sitting in your little comfortable zone, right? You sit in your comfortable zone and you think you're the king of everything, and you think nobody can touch me, nobody can touch me. 5 fucking Britain warships comes up, and they say, you have so many minutes to give up. And if you don't give up, we'll bombard your ass. You say, man, get the hell out of here. You ain't gonna do nothing. Ba 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 ba. You motherfucking ass is down. But he always fled, man. That was actually a smart move. I'm just saying. Goddamn puppet states. It's funny. Let's get it. It's not funny, but let's go.
America.
After
the Civil War ended in 1865, the people of America came together to form the United States, all except those in the county of Zandt. The people of this tiny Texan county were sick of both sides, and in 1867 decided to secede from the United States. They even wrote their own Declaration of Independence. Unsurprisingly, the US wasn't happy with this poxy county embarrassing them, and sent a cavalry unit to deal with them. Not to be outdone, the Zandt officially declared war on America and gathered their own troops. In the densely wooded conditions of Zandt County, cavalry was useless, and the Zandt managed to defeat the US troops. Having pulled off the ultimate underdog victory, the new nation did the only sensible thing to do: got blind drunk celebrating. When the defeated American soldiers heard how smashed their opponents were, they simply marched in and arrested them. The prisoners would later escape, and the US Army never bothered chasing them. The county's Declaration of Independence was never officially repealed, meaning to this day, Van Zandt is technically its own nation. 7.
Let me pause here. That's the funny part, because when you hear about that, you hear about, oh, it's peace and love and harmony. It's all about freedom. It's America. Let's go. But they actually messed up a state. One state, man. That's crazy. That is crazy to hear, man. But it is what it is, I guess. It's history. You can't change history. Learn to live with it. Japanese versus Russia. Let's go.
Japan versus Russia. Most people think that Russia's involvement in World War II ended when they rolled into Berlin and forced the Nazis to surrender. After all, you could hardly blame a country that had lost over 26 million people from taking a breather.
That is crazy.
But if Stalin was known for one thing, it was being kind of intense. The USSR declared war on Japan on the 8th of August, launching 3 separate invasions of their territory in China. This sudden attack took Japan by surprise, and they were driven out of China in a matter of days. Not done yet, the USSR began to attack the Japanese land in Korea. Stalin's hope was not just to finally end World War II, but to grab as much land as possible before the conflict ended. The fighting lasted 3 weeks and killed 12,000 Japanese soldiers. Eventually, Japan, reeling from 2 nuclear attacks, surrendered. Whether it was planned as a cynical land grab or not, many historians now believe the Russians played an unprecedented part in making Japan give in as early as they did. 6.
Let me pause here. That's the problem. You never really get recognition because America's gonna come over and take all the fucking order. That's typical America, man. They just ride into the country. Hey, it's us who did it, man. We made you free, man. We get you freedom, man. That's USA for you right there in a nutshell, man. That's the funny part about it. Mwah. Love to America. Let's go.
The Netherlands versus the Isle of Scilly.
Sicily, right?
300
Scilly.
years and don't take a single
What the fuck is
casualty,
Scilly?
you might not be trying hard enough. On the verge of winning the English Civil War, Oliver Cromwell and his army of royal-hating parliamentarians drove the remainder of the king's forces out of the English mainland. The defeated royalist leaders were pushed out of Cornwall and settled on the Isle of Scilly. You know the Isles of Scilly, obviously they're located right next to the Isle of Zany and the Isles of Wacky. In an act of solidarity with the parliamentarians, the Netherlands decided to declare war on the 6-square-mile archipelago. The Dutch Navy arrived off the shore of Scilly and demanded money from the royalist forces. Receiving no answer and knowing the parliamentarians were about to win anyway, the Dutch sailed home without firing a shot. The Netherlands quickly forgot about the incident and never bothered signing a peace treaty. It wasn't until 1986 that a historian from the Isles of Scilly pointed out that the area was still at war with the Dutch. Rather than immediately invading the islands, the Dutch did the grown-up thing and sent an ambassador down to sign a peace treaty. The conflict lasted 335 years, making it one of the longest wars in history. 5. The Swiss versus the Swiss. The Swiss are well known for staying neutral, having not picked a fight with another country since 1815. But that doesn't mean they won't beat each other up from time to time. In the 19th century, Switzerland was more of a loosely connected collection of regions than a country. There was a move to unite the areas under a single centralised government, but a collection of 7 Catholic regions opposed the move. They distanced themselves from the rest of Switzerland and, ironically, bonded together to create their own nation under a centralised government.
Wow.
The new country
Actually didn't know that.
Formed at the bottom of Switzerland in 1847. The largely Protestant Switzerland wasn't happy with a new Catholic country on their doorstep and declared war on them. Perhaps surprised that fucking Switzerland of all places wanted a war, the Sonderbund were caught off guard and appealed for help from Austria and France. But the two nations spent so much time discussing the right way to aid Sonderbund that they ended up doing nothing. With an army 20,000 men stronger than Sonderbund's, the Swiss forces rolled in at the beginning of November and had forced a surrender before the
That is crazy.
4. Mormons versus America. Nowadays, Mormons are mostly famous for being extremely nice and polite. However,
what is Mormons?
There was a time when the Mormons were bloodthirsty enough to fend off the US Army. Having met opposition to their polygamous lifestyle in the US, the Church of Latter-day Saints formed their own territory in what is now Utah. While setting up a government there, Mormon leader Brigham Young kicked out all the officials he thought were too corrupt or inept. That turned out to be a bad idea. The disgruntled former officials returned to the US and started spreading rumors that Young wanted to attack America. President James Buchanan sent a huge military force of 55,000 troops to deal with the perceived threat, but despite their numerical advantage, they kept losing skirmishes to the local Mormon forces. After a series of
because Jesus Christ came down and told them something.
Attacked a train of civilian wagons, hoping to trick the US into believing the area was populated by a tribe of dangerous Native Americans. 126 innocent men, women and children died in the massacre. At this point, the war had become an embarrassment, and both Buchanan and Young agreed it was best to end their fighting and pretend it never happened. Utah would continue
that is actually funny, man.
For 40 years until it became a US state in 1896. 3. Christians versus pagans.
Uh-oh.
You're no doubt aware of the Catholic Church's repeated crusades to capture Jerusalem. But, like with Hemsworth's, there are other, less famous crusades you've probably never heard of. One of these was the so-called Northern Crusade, also known as the Wendish Crusade. The 12th century expedition aimed to wipe out paganism across Europe. Spearheaded by the kingdoms of Sweden and Denmark, these militaries were also backed up by the Teutonic Order and the Livonian Brothers of the Sword, which were Christian religious orders and also great heavy metal band names. The crusading armies swept into northern Germany in June 1147, scattering their pagan opponents and killing or forcibly baptizing them. By the end of the summer, the Christian forces had pushed the largest pagan army, the Wends, to the edge of Europe, and the Wendish leader, Nick Lott, agreed to a mass baptism of his army as part of their surrender. The Northern Crusade was largely regarded as a success, although, as scholars at the time pointed out, forcing people to become Christian at the point of a sword isn't exactly what Jesus would do.
Let me pause it real quick. Let's just get this straight, okay? So my country, Denmark, did this. What a fucking disgrace. What a fucking disgrace. What a fucking disgrace. Listen up, first of all, we Vikings in this bitch. We don't need no other brotherhood and no other country. We do what we want to do, right? We the brothers. We are the Norsemen. Man, sometimes the people who rule Denmark is the most stupidest people I've ever seen in my life. I'm just kidding. History is history, man. It is what it is. I'm just joking. Relax. Calm down. But it's funny, actually. It's very nice. It's not nice, but it's very funny. I actually didn't know that Denmark been a part of a crusade. That's actually funny. I don't know why it's funny, but it's fucked up. Sorry, YouTube, I curse. Let's go.
2. Moldova versus Transnistria.
Where is all
End of
these
the Soviet
countries?
Union, about 1/3 of the citizens of Moldova wanted to remain close allies with Russia and Ukraine.
Of course.
However, the other 2/3 preferred an allegiance with Romania and the West.
Why Romania?
The pro-Russian side attempted to form their own country called Transnistria on the eastern edge of Moldova, and in 1992, war broke out between Transnistria and Moldova. Although the fighting only lasted a little over 4 months, it was bloody, with the Moldovans losing 324 men and the Transnistrians over 900.
Wow.
The war came to an unsatisfactory end, with the sides agreeing that Transnistria could effectively operate as their own country, but with no other nations recognizing them. What makes this war stand out is that the soldiers weren't about to let a little thing like civil war ruin their social lives. Opposing troops would meet up in no man's land every evening to drink together. Individual soldiers would sometimes form such close friendships with enemies that they would agree not to kill each other if they ever met on the battlefield. This strange fight-by-day, booze-by-night attitude led to the whole affair being nicknamed the Drunken War by locals. 1. Paraguay.
Let me pause here. Wow, that's crazy. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that as a Norseman. A Nordman. I couldn't do that shit. Sitting in front of my enemy, drinking a beer. I would never be able to do that. Because that's my enemy. I'm supposed to fight him. You know, in Denmark, well, my course of action in Denmark, my traditions, I think mostly tradition in Denmark is when you sit down and drink a beer with a person, you actually do have a little bit of respect for him. You want to be comfortable, you want to talk, you want to do these things. That's what beer does to people, like it's party, friends, dinner. Because when you invite somebody out on dinner, it's basically friendship, right? I don't know. I go kindly high of that. I think high of that. Like, that's what I do. But, yeah, who knows? That's just crazy that they enemies and they sit and drink beer at the night and fight at the day. Imagine you do that. Like, I couldn't do that. This guy might be killing 20 of my friends. How can I sit and drink a beer with him? But hey, every man that style, right? Let's go.
Fight versus everyone. From avenging a pig to fighting over a bucket, over the course of human history, there have been some pretty dumb reasons people have gone to war. But
we are the human species, of course.
Your celebrity crush is certainly up there. President Solano Lopez ruled over Paraguay during the mid-19th century, and to say that he was a Napoleon fanboy would be putting it lightly. In fact, Lopez was so eager to prove he was as great a general as Napoleon had been that in 1864 he simultaneously declared war on Brazil, Uruguay and Argentina. The attempt by the 450,000 people of Paraguay to take on a combined population of 11 million went about as well as you'd expect, and Lopez's forces were roundly defeated on the battlefield. To their credit, the Paraguayans didn't give up after their military's collapse and continued fighting using guerrilla tactics. The nation refused to surrender, not giving in until over 90% of its population had been slaughtered. It was a brutal, pointless war that probably made the people of Paraguay wish their leader had been a believer instead. So that was 10 Bizarre Wars history completely forgot. Did you have a favourite? Which war do you think deserves more attention? Be sure to let us know in the comments below, and if you're still in a war-y mood, check out the 10 dumbest wars in history playing on screen now.
We gonna check that out, of course. Now my favorite in this one, my favorite was actually the Drunken War. Believe it or not, it was actually the Drunken War. Because how in the hell can you fight a war and sit and drink? I said it like a British guy. Fight a war, and then basically at night you drink together with your enemy that you're slaughtering on the battlefield. He probably killed 20 of your guys or your friends or your homies or your brothers. And you sit at night and just, keep friends with him. Well, I get it, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like, there must be a loyalty somewhere, right? We all human beings and we all have our needs and everything, but it's basically war. So they're killing each other, they're killing your friends, they're killing your brothers, they're killing your family. It's almost a rap song. Anyway, man, that's crazy, man. That was actually my favorite one because I actually never heard of that. Like that's on some Viking shit right there. Not drinking with your enemies, but basically drinking beer. On some Viking shit right there. But hey, that was a beautiful a video. Amazing video. I really did dig it. I really do love it. I actually think I'm gonna react to more of this instead of just music. So I think I'm gonna go back to this because it's actually nice to know things and know facts about this. So yeah, but without further ado, guys and girls, if you like this video, please hit the like button down below. And we almost at 1,000 subscribers, and it would be massively appreciated if you would subscribe. So please do it. Subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get updated by the newest videos. But anyway, guys and girls, I'm gonna move on into the next one. Peace. The fuck did I do while I'm there? Let's go.